Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be talking about 5 players whose stock went down after the Washington football team's preseason game against the Bengals. It could be because of performance, or it could be because of a player at the same position performed better than they did. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. I'm so close to 6,000 subscribers, about 100 away. Please help me get there. Also hit that like button. It helps out a ton. So let's get right into the video. Okay, so overall, I think most players played pretty well in this game against the Bengals, but there were a few players that did struggle, or some players that played pretty well, and the players at that same position, their stock is going a little bit down. So we'll first start off with Steven Sims, who really did not play that well and just didn't do much at all. You look at the targets that he received. I believe he was only targeted once in this whole game, so he was targeted one time the whole game, and he didn't really offer that much in the punt return or kick return game, which is a way that he something that he needs to do if he wants to make the roster. Had one kick return for 16 yards when others at his position, DeAndre Carter and Jarrett Patterson, both did better than him there, and he didn't do anything punt returning wise. So I think his stock definitely went down. He kind of dropped that pass. Yes, it was, he was probably going to get hit on that play, but still he was playing a little bit scared there. And if he was able to make that catch, that would have really changed things for him, in my opinion. And you can't, drop that, especially when that was a major issue for Steven Sims last year. I mean, the biggest knock on Steven Sims last year was the ball security on the punt returns, and also his hands just as a wide receiver. He dropped a bunch of passes last year, also struggled as a punt returner, as we know. And another reason why his stock is going down a little bit is because the guy that he's competing with, DeAndre Carter, but also he's competing with AGG for a final receiver spot, and AGG had a pretty good game, 3 catches for 38 yards. Also had another catch on a 2-point conversion, which was really, really clutch. So he didn't play well, and others at his position at wide receiver and at kick return played better than him. So it doesn't bode well for him if he wants to make the roster. But if he has any chance, he's gonna have a really good game against the Ravens next week, and also have a really, really good week of practice, because he's really, really behind right now, at least in my opinion, behind AGG and maybe even DeAndre Carter. We will see, though. He still has a chance, but he's got to play better, and he definitely cannot drop another ball. So the other guy that I think struggled, or not struggled, his stock went down, is DeAndre Carter, and here is why. Similar to what happened with Steven Sims is, DeAndre Carter just didn't do much in the game as a receiver, and that's not what you want him to do. He had 1 catch for -1 yards, but also, his punt return was okay, 1 return for 7 yards, which isn't anything special, but someone else at his position, Jarrett Patterson, had an amazing return. He had 1 return for 37 yards, and Jarrett Patterson offers much more than DeAndre Carter at his position at running back than DeAndre Carter does at receiver. So I really think that really hurts his chances, especially if this next week, if Jarrett Patterson shows out and has another good day returning kicks and even punts, that's going to not bode well for someone like DeAndre Carter, especially when he does not offer much as a receiver. So that is something to watch. What does Jarrett Patterson do next week as a kick returner / punt returner? Because it's safe to say he has a spot on this roster. But if he continues to do well as a kick returner and even starts to do well as a punt returner, that could really mean that DeAndre Carter is on his way out. And another player, same thing, that I think his stock is a little bit down, is Danny Johnson. And Danny Johnson has had a pretty good camp, and honestly didn't have a bad game this week. But the thing is DeAndre Carter has had some solid returns, and Jarrett Patterson had that great return in the Bengals game, and Danny Johnson really doesn't offer much as a punt returner. He's only done it a few times in an actual game, and he's was our primary kick returner last year. And DeAndre Carter and I think Jarrett Patterson at this point are ahead of him in those duties. And also, another reason why I think his stock went a little bit down is he's competing obviously for a kick return spot, but also as a fifth or sixth corner. And Torrey McTyer, I think, obviously he had a great game and he might have locked into that fifth cornerback spot. I think he's going to make this roster. So if they're keeping 5 corners, I don't think Danny Johnson makes it. If they keep 6, then there's a chance he makes it. He's competing against Troy Apke, Darryl Roberts, but still, I think Darryl Roberts could make it over him. I think Danny Johnson, though, will make it over Troy Apke, especially at corner. But it's going to be very interesting because Torrey McTyer had a great game and he was starting. He played like the first quarter and a half, maybe even the whole first half as a starting outside corner with Benjamin St-Juste. Obviously, that's because William Jackson and Kendall Fuller were out, but still, that means he's with the second team. So I think he's going to make this roster, and he honestly, at some point in the season, if he continues to progress, could be the 4th cornerback out there, because I do believe he was out there before Jimmy Moreland on Friday. So we'll see about him, but I think DeAndre Carter and Danny Johnson, their stock went down a little bit because others at their position really, really impressed this week. Really, mainly being Jarrett Patterson, just absolutely balled out and, really impressed us as a kick returner. So the next guy is, I think, Fitzpatrick / the whole first team offense. It was a little bit disappointing, but again, it's understandable, and I don't think no reason to panic just yet. Fitzpatrick went 7 for 13 with 96 yards, and the first team offense was able to move the ball a ton. They just weren't able to get any points, and I understand they're definitely experimenting on offense. Like, this offense that they're showing right now is not going to be anything near what they'll actually do once the games start, but I would like to see them get some points, and it was unfortunate they weren't able to get any points at all in the first 2 games. The first game, I didn't read much into it because the offense looked smooth. It was like the first possession, they didn't go for it on 4th and 1, but they probably would have been a real game. And then after that, Adam Humphrey slipped on a play that would have extended their drive, and Dustin Hopkins missed a 40-yard field goal. So, and this game was a little bit more concerning though, because I think the first team offense had 4 drives, and whenever they got close to the red zone, they were not able to get any points. So that definitely was concerning. But I think Curtis Samuel being back eventually, I think next preseason game or during week 1 is really going to help the offense out a ton. And like I said, I think they're experimenting a little bit. So I think once they really start to unveil the offense, the offense is going to look much better. I think the offensive line allowed a little bit too much pressure for my liking. So that's why I'm not saying just Ryan Fitzpatrick. I'm saying the whole first team offense. Their stock is a little bit down, but I think they'll be just fine in a couple of weeks once the regular season starts. So the last player, this was a tough one for me because originally I thought Derek Forrest looked okay, but that was me sitting, right at, field level. It's hard to see everything, but, after watching some, little bit of film, because I don't have all 22, but I was able to watch a couple clips and, obviously, I think you guys all saw him bite on that, play action bootleg. That was he was just lost there. He was just totally lost. He missed a couple other tackles, but he did make a nice play that got called unnecessary roughness or whatever it was called, and he got called for a 15-yard penalty. But I don't think that was a good call, and that should have been a forced fumble by him, and I'll count that. But besides that, though, he looked a little bit lost out there, missed a couple tackles, and we'll see. I think he will likely make this roster, and the first half of the season, he'll likely just be on special teams because he did make a couple plays on special teams the first couple of weeks, and maybe eventually he can get some snaps on the defense, on the defensive side of the ball. But at the moment, he just doesn't look ready to get snaps at safety, and likely will be a special teamer. Hopefully, though, he can start to develop later on in the season. I think he will make the roster just because he is a 5th-round pick, and I think they want to give him a little bit more time before giving up on him. It's way too early. Haven't seen him in actual, real games yet, and it's just, it's going to be tough though, just because, if you include him, we have 6 safeties that last year would have made the roster, and they're gonna keep probably 5, so one of them's gonna have to go. And I don't know if Derek Forrest would clear waivers for a practice squad, so that's something right there to consider. So those are kind of the guys that stock went down. And Derek Forrest, like I said, he struggled a little bit, and also like now we kind of know like there was a chance, before the season started that maybe he could play eventually, in the first few weeks, some defensive snaps, but now more likely than not he's just going to be primarily playing on special teams for the Washington football team. So let me know down below in the comments what players you think struggled or their stock dipped a little bit. Let me know in the comments down below. Also, let me know, when do you guys want me to post my 53-man roster prediction? Do you want me to post it before the final week of preseason or after the game? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. Peace, guys.